and deepening economic cooperation, there should be no unwritten rules about those who feast and those who must be settled for scraps. It cannot be that a country's geographical location or income level or army determines who has a voice and who is spoken down to. And it basically means that there should be no bullying of one nation by another nation. We are all equal.
South Africa just sent a clear message to the world's most powerful nation. We will not be bullied. After threats, letters, and pressure from the United States to silence its G20 declaration, South Africa stood firm. And now, in a twist of irony, the same nation that vowed to boycott the summit wants back in.
Thank you very much. We have received notice from the United States, a notice which we are still in discussions with them over, about a change of mind about participating in one shape, form, or other in the summit. So the discussions are still ongoing. This comes really at the late hour before the summit begins. And so therefore we do need to engage in those types of discussions to see how practical it is and what it finally really means. In a way, we see this as a positive sign, very positive, because, as I've often said, boycott politics never work. It's always best to be inside the tent than being outside of the tent. The tent is the G20. All countries are here, and the United States, being the biggest economy in the world, needs to be here. So it's pleasing to hear that there is a change of approach, and so we are still discussing how that will manifest. Fabricius, you seem to know things as they happen. So there was another communication which came as we were seated here in this bilateral meeting. So we're still digesting that one. It's now seemingly moved away from the charge just receiving the role that they must now play to also something else. That's precisely what we are now examining. You tend to know too much, Peter. Well, the United States is a member of the G20. They are the original member of the G20, so they have the right to be here. And all we will be seeking to do is to look at the various practicalities, logistical and otherwise, for them to participate. They have a seat at the round table, as you will see on Saturday. There is a seat for the United States. So when President Trump said they are not coming, that seat still remained. It was empty for a while, but it will hopefully be occupied, but we want to deal with all those practicalities. You should know that because it's a gathering of G20 leaders, there is a lot of logistics that go into getting the leaders to come to the venue and to participate, and how they will speak, their speaking order and all that. So those are matters that had not been pre-planned because they pulled out. So we need to understand precisely how all that will pan out. So we're clear The United States has a right to participate in the G20, and much as they notify us at the 11th hour, we still need to engage with them to understand fully what their participation at the 11th hour means and how it will manifest itself. Thank you.
This is not just a political standoff. It's a declaration of African dignity, sovereignty, and leadership. In this video, we unpack how President Cyril Ramaphosa defied global pressure, why this matters for Africa, and what this moment signals for the future of Pan-African unity. The G20 Summit, one of the world's most important diplomatic gatherings, is usually dominated by voices from the global north. But this year, for the first time, South Africa is hosting it at the Nasrec Expo Center in Johannesburg. It's a historic moment, not just for South Africa, but for the entire African continent. This leadership role placed South Africa, and by extension Africa, at the center of global dialogue on economics, diplomacy, and the future of the world's interconnected systems. But not everyone was pleased. The United States, under the shadow of the Trump administration's foreign policy legacy, openly criticized South Africa's G20 presidency and even threatened to boycott the summit altogether. According to reports from Bloomberg, Washington went as far as to formally write to South Africa, warning them not to issue a final G20 declaration. The message was clear: fall in line or face consequences. Why would the United States take such a hard stance against a G20 declaration? Because declarations carry weight. They are symbolic. They are political statements of unity. And when issued under African leadership, they challenge the narrative of who gets to lead global discourse. The U.S. feared that South Africa's G20 declaration might reflect positions not aligned with Western interests, especially with the growing Global South unity, BRICS expansion, and rising criticism of global inequality. By warning South Africa, the U.S. was sending a message: you're hosting, but don't get too bold. This kind of political pressure is nothing new. Africa has seen it before, in trade, aid, diplomacy, and international law. But this time, something different happened. President Cyril Ramaphosa did not fold. Instead, he delivered a fiery and confident speech at the closing ceremony of the G20 Social Summit, making one thing very clear: South Africa would not back down. Quote voice: "There should be no bullying of one nation by another nation. We are all equal," Ramaphosa declared. He went on to say, "It cannot be that a country's geographical location, income level, or army determines who has a voice and who is spoken down to." Powerful words, words that echo the spirit of Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba. This was not just Ramaphosa defending South Africa. This was an African president standing up for Africa's dignity in the face of global arrogance. Even more symbolic, Ramaphosa confirmed that the G20 leaders' declaration will be issued, despite U.S. resistance. That's leadership. That's sovereignty in action. And then came the twist. After all the threats, warnings, and chest thumping, the United States has now requested to participate in the very same summit they vowed to boycott. This reversal highlights something deeper: the shifting dynamics of global power. It shows that Africa can no longer be sidelined, and when African leaders stand firm, even the most powerful nations must take notice. This isn't just politics. This is diplomatic respect being earned, not through submission, but through confidence and unity. This moment is bigger than Ramaphosa, bigger than South Africa. This is a moment for Africa to recognize its voice, its strength, and its growing influence on the global stage. As African nations become more unified through BRICS, G20, and continental institutions like the African Union, we're seeing a new narrative emerge, one where Africa doesn't just participate, it leads. This is the dream of Pan-Africanism in action, a continent that stands tall, speaks boldly, and shapes its own destiny. The message is clear, and every African, every member of the diaspora, should feel it deeply. Africa will not be bullied. Africa will be heard. When South Africa hosts, the world listens. When Ramaphosa speaks, the message echoes beyond borders. This is more than a G20 summit. This is a declaration that Africa has arrived, and we will shape the world with our own hands. If this inspired you, if you believe in Africa's rise, like this video, subscribe to Make Africa Great, and share this message. Because the future is African, and it begins now.
Thank you, Africa.